Welcome to this video, the power of your CX story and why every CX leader needs one. Welcome, I'm so happy that you joined me today to learn everything about the CX story. Do you recognize this? You're struggling to create sense of urgency for CX. How do people really understand that it's not just important but urgent? How do you get enough budget and resources? Do you get that, or do you always struggle and are you last? Do you maybe sometimes have a feeling that CX is nobody's or everybody's job and everybody's talking about it but not acting? Or maybe more on the personal level, are you really working hard, doing a lot of projects, but are you not seen as a strategic leader that impacts everybody and that has a seat at a strategy table? Or might it be that CX efforts are inconsistent across your organization? You might be in need of a good CX story. Before we dive into it, my name is Nienke Bloem. I'm a customer experience expert and professional CCXP MBA, and I'm a recognized training provider of the CXPA. I've been a CX leader myself. I've presented my own CX story a couple of times when I was leader for the Dutch incumbent telco KPN. I was responsible for CX from 2011 to 2014. And since 2015, I've built up my own practice in CX education, CX mentoring and speaking. And I have guided over 1,000 CX professionals when it comes to CX education, and 75 leaders mentored them to become more strategic, impactful leaders. And one of the things I found is that many CX leaders are really crappy in having a great change narrative and their storytelling. And one of the things that we have to be honest is that we are responsible for customer experience, but we're not in the seat of the executive. So we need a certain change narrative to bring forwards that's consistent and that we can repeat. Know that I'm here for you. And in this video, we're going to dive in the mistakes, in the how to solve it, and I'm going to give you some practical tips. Already, if you want to know more, know that I have an online training where you learn to make the CX story yourself. You can buy it, do it yourself, or you can buy it with 2 mentor calls with me. But hey, maybe you can do it yourself based on this video. Let's go. So what is actually a CX story? I have not made myself easy here, but I'm really proud that maybe I'm the founder of the terminology. A CX story for me is that change narrative, that visionary change narrative that you can share time and time again. And some elements really are from a strategic part, some more emotional sense of urgency. And it's your change narrative where you share how your organization is going to be customer-centric. It's also a visionary piece and it's a practical piece. And it's something that you as a CX leader need to guide your organization towards the customer-centric transformation. And now my question for you is, do you have a great CX story? So I already introduced a little bit about the background of the CX story, but I think there are 3 main reasons you and every other CX leader and CX team need this super smart CX story. First of all, to create urgency and get buy-in. Do people in your organization say, yeah, we're going to invest in customer experience, but next year? Do you feel like it's important but not urgent? Do you get buy-in on the vision and the mission? Do you, with your team, guide the transformation? You have to make sure that everybody understands why CX matters now, and that's what you address in your CX story. The second reason you need a good CX story is to really align and inspire people and teams. You need to align on the efforts that are being taken, but also to have people understand where you're going, what's your burning platform, but also where do they go? What are the steps towards the future? That's what you need to guide people in that process. And the third is to strengthen personal authority and leadership. You need to be seen as the expert in the field. You should be the person they turn to in your organization when it comes to customer experience or customer centricity. And it helps if you have this great, strong fundament of a CX story that people maybe even repeat, then you know you're doing great. Especially if you have shared it consistently and time again, I'll promise you, you grow in your leadership and in the way that people approach you. I call that your authority. When we look at a lot of CX stories and know that I have helped about 75 leaders in their leadership journey and with their CX stories. And in November, I did a webinar on CX stories and I had 150 people from all over the world join me. And later I had 21 interviews with them to learn more and dive deeper. And I learned what the biggest mistakes are. So it's my expertise, combination what you learned. Number one. A lot of CX stories are too functional and boring. Yeah, let's be honest, did you have any meetings last week? You probably did. How many have you remembered? Chances are it's 0. What we see is that too many presentations within organizations are functional. They're just slides, facts, figures, methods, and people are just gone. They're bored. We need to add personal element, emotion, facts, figures, hooks. We need to create beautiful visuals. So this whole story that we have is visionary and not boring, and especially not only functional. The second one, it's too general and it's not memorable. A lot of things are corporate, schmorporate. When you look at slides, when you look at the step 1, 2, 3, when we look at all these things, you don't want to be too general. Yeah, we need to be customer centric. Yeah, okay. Open door. My God, no. There's too much jargon and it's not memorable. But there's not this little hook. This little hook like a blue dress. Are you going to remember that I'm always in the blue dress? Probably you will. CX story need to be fluffed up, need to be unshitted. We need to be really taking it up a notch. And yes, I'm very Dutch and direct, but that's the only way that we're going to move this needle forward, right? Not being memorable, just being bored, just being too general doesn't work. 3, what I see a lot, and this is really important. Do you know that people like to work with people they like? Yeah, let it sink in. People like to work with people they like. So, when you don't put yourself in as a leader, as a person, they're not going to work for you. And yes, you stand for CX, but it's also you. I was responsible for CX and I did a training with Speech Republic when I was a CX leader and I had to present my CX strategy for the first time for the top 80. And I remember that one of the things they said, there's the speaker triangle, it's your topic, it's the audience, and it's you. The third angle is you. Bring yourself in with a personal experience, with your motivation, your why, your purpose, your customer story. I don't know. You have to be in there. It shouldn't just be CX. Then 4, this one, if you're a perfectionist, yeah, might be you. The biggest mistake number 4 is you're too complete and complex and complete and analytical. When you want to put everything in this CX story, you don't have to be complete. You have to be focused. If you put everything in and put into the nitty-gritty detail, people are going to forget. And if it's just too analytical, it doesn't really work. You don't have to try to fix everything at once. And mistake number 5, you've given this great presentation. Everybody says, thank you, and leaves the room or clicks when it's online, leave the meeting. And you didn't ask for action. We are not here as CX leaders to just present and inspire. It might be sometimes, but we are here to get into action. As Steve Jobs said, let's put a dent in the universe. Why else be here? And that is true. A call to action needs to be in there. So if you just have a presentation, you end your presentation with a slide. Any questions? Never do that again. Ask for something you want. So before you start creating your CX story, think about actions you want from either leadership, the people in your workshop, employees that you see. You have to be very specific. And so those are the 5 common mistakes. maybe you check them. Which one of those 5 do you recognize? Maybe none. That hey for you. But the chances are 2 or 3 out of 5 can be applicable for you. Let's go and see how a good CX story is constructed. First of all, there are 3 types of CX stories. I always call, like, you have your 2-minute pitch. You meet the CEO in the elevator, they say, what do you do with CX? You need to be able to share it. That is your 2-minute pitch. Then we have the 10-minute CX story. I think this should be your body that you have all the time, your PowerPoint slides that you can use time and time again. This is your fundament. And then you have your half-hour to 1-hour keynote where you're complete, where you take people on a workshop, where you're really elaborate. But let's dive into this 10-minute elements of the CX story. What is in there? For me, a great CX story, and let's just stay with the basics first before we go any further, has 4 elements. Every great CX story starts with a personal story. It can be a personal story from your history, how you grew up. It could be on education. It could be a customer story. It could be your own customer experience. I spoke at a really large event lately, and there the CEO, he experienced a great experience he had with Booking.com. And he translated it how he wanted that smooth, proactive customer experience just as well in his own company. He put in something of himself and his kids, and he translated it. I also sometimes use the personal story that when I started my first job and how I was introduced to the store of the telco where I started. And that the general manager said, what do you see? And my first thing that I saw is that everybody in the store was busy with processes and with systems, and it was a little bit dirty. And the time I was there, just 10 minutes, 5 customers came in and they were not greeted and they all left. So I said it to him. I said, well, this is not good. And he said, Nienke, there's going to be one day in your career, and imagine I was 22, and he said, there's going to be one moment in your career that you are going to be in that same position where you're too focused on the inside out instead of the outside in. And I use this story a lot, and you can imagine, because let's be honest, this is what happens. And I say, I remember those words from Jacques Teterissa a lot, and I memorize those. So always start with a personal anecdote, this personal story. The second element is sense of urgency. You have to be able to explain to others why is it important, and not just important, but urgent, to work on CX now. Not anytime, but now. This is for you incredibly important. This is what we often see. You could do like the Holy Trinity, past, present, future. When it comes to NPS, you could put in mission, vision. You can put in where are you now with NPS, where do you want to go? You can put verbatim in, emotion, bring in what you want so people feel in their belly, not just understand, but feel in their belly, uh-oh, we need to work on this. The third element is your CX strategy. This is your CX knowledge, and no, it's not the CXPA framework. It's often like 3 pillars of your strategy, how you're going to bring CX forward. At my time at KPN, it was voice of the customer, brand delivery in the customer journey, and employee ambassadorship. With my team of 12, 8 people worked on voice of the customer, listening, analyzing, reacting and acting and creating the closing the loop. 2 people were working on customer journey mapping, brand delivery in the customer journey, seeing where we could put our brand elements in. And 1 person was actually working with HR to get CX into the onboarding, to make sure that our employees were proud again to be working at KPN. You should have your strategy. It's the how. How are we going to become customer-centric? And you need to be very specific in it. And the 4th element, I already mentioned that it's a big mistake, no call to action. And you need a call to action. So have a real clear call to action. How do you do that? I think before you start creating your story and before you start every presentation, think about, what do I want from these people? What do I want to bring? What do I want to get from it? Call to action is very specific. Don't put 4 call to actions in. 1 is the best. And that, my friends, is what comprises of a great customer story, CX story. You need this. You need this change narrative, and know that the sense of urgency and the strategy, you'll stay the same all the time. And you also teach your team to share this and use those slides time and time again. Isn't this incredible? So, are you curious? How am I doing when it comes to a CX story? Know that there are always webinars, but more important, do you know that I have a great online training that you can follow where you learn to create, and I help you create your CX story yourself. In 6 weeks, you're going to create these 4 elements and get these 4 bodies of knowledge, and know that if you really want it and you want some expertise of me, you can buy 2 mentor calls where we improve what you have. And the fun thing that I learned, a lot of people, they buy online courses, but they don't really follow it through and finish them. So the good thing is you also get accountability with me. My promise is that at the end you have a great CX story that you can share at the price that you only hire a consultant one day. Why would you do that if you could just learn it from me? Do you also want to learn notes? By the way, it's in the show notes how you can buy that online training. And are you like, but Nienke, I don't just want to do the online training, I want to build it together and have my team trained? Reach out to me. I'm here, always in my blue dress and always to be here of service. It's my motto to spice up your CX leadership, and by improving your CX story, you'll gain the authority you need. Reach out to me and I'm here to help.